92.7. 3 FM 92.7.
You're tuned in. On 3 FM Drive 92.7.
Hello, good evening, welcome. This is Hot Edition. We're live from News about Desawe Kanda, also live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W93.5 in Y and beyond. President John Mahama reveals immediate resumption of the Asanteo 247 to the seconds-led mediation talk by next week in a fresh push to resolve the Bawku conflict. Stay with us. We've got details for you. Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete Yohuno, has appealed to the Bawku Naba to intervene to halt the violent unrest in that area this evening. Stay with us. We've got details for you as well. We've been hearing from stakeholders, including the minority who are demanding urgent action to end the age-old conflict in Bawku. Also this evening, tariffs, water and electricity likely to see an upward review as Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission PRC holds quarterly review meeting today. Stay with us. We've got details for you here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions are welcome. And a former Director General of the Ghana Health Service, Professor Ajiman Bedu Akosa, has indicated that Ghana's multi-party democracy system has failed to serve the interest of the wider population. You want to know why he's saying this? Stay with us. We've got details for you. For now, settle for a summary of the news. Safwa Boahen is here.
Thank you, Alfred, and welcome to the news summary segment, to the first story now. And the government is taking steps to reinstate public sector workers who were wrongly laid off during the transition period following the change in administration. And the Minister of Employment and Labour Relations, Abdul Rashid Hassan Pelpo, he has said, and also President John Dramani Mahama has unveiled plans to launch a home ownership scheme tailored specifically for personnel of the Ghana Armed Forces as part of the broader efforts to improve their welfare and long-term security. Also, Education Minister Haruna Idrisu says government plans to phase out the double track system in senior high schools by 2027. The double track system introduced in 2018 under the free SHS policy has helped manage high enrollment but continues to face criticism for disrupting teaching and learning. Away from that, the Member of Parliament for Bawku Central and Majority Leader Mahama Yarega has issued a condemnation of the recent violent confrontations between youth groups and security forces in Bawku, describing the situation as deeply troubling and urgent for calm amid heightened tensions. Into our last story now, Ghana Water Limited GWL has announced plans to begin controlled spillage from the Wager Dam due to rising water levels triggered by the onset of the rainy season. And this is where we end the news summary segment. And over to you, Alfred.
Safwa Boahen, I appreciate you. Thank you so much. This morning is on 3news.com. Make some time and visit 3news.com. This is Hot Edition. We're live on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and on W93.5 in Wa and beyond. Remember, we're streaming live on Facebook at 3FM 927 as well, so you can follow every step of the way. President John Dramani Mahama has assured that the peace mediation process led by Asanteo 247 to the second will resume next week as efforts intensify to restore calm in the conflict-prone Bawku area. The Asantehene is expected to engage factions in the Bawku conflict in a fresh attempt to resolve the age-old conflict there. This comes in the wake of renewed violence in the past couple of weeks, resulting in the loss of lives and property. The government, in response, imposed curfews to help control the situation. From what we're getting right now, government in response and the strategies that have been put in place so far is under scrutiny. This week, tensions have flared between security personnel and some Irish youth also leading to death and destruction of property in the area. Addressing the graduation of the officer cadets at the Ghana Military Academy earlier today, President John Mahama urged all parties to renew their commitment to peace. He disclosed to 247 to the second mediation process to help resolve the conflict will resume next week. Let's hear from the president.
One major flashpoint continues to be the Bawku area. Only 2 days ago, an incident in a marketplace triggered an unfortunate loss of lives and criminal vandalism of property. I wish to emphasize that nobody gains from this situation of conflict and insecurity. We have triggered the Otumfor mediation process, which saw all stakeholders participate in discussions in Kumasi on a roadmap towards peace. I'm assured by the Asantehene that the process will resume next week when he returns from his brief visit abroad. Congratulations to our armed forces for the sacrifices you have made, even at the peril of your lives, to protect life and property in the Bawku conflict area. We need the cooperation of all to restore peace in Bawku and its environs. And I entreat all sides to embrace peace as we dialogue to resolve this age-old dispute. The distinguished guest, plans for the expansion.
Also present there. Meanwhile, the Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete Yohuno, has appealed to the Boko Naba Asigri Abogrago Azoka, the second, to intervene to stop the violent unrest in the area. Speaking during a courtesy call on the Overlord, the IGP reiterated the need for the police to collaborate with the Koso Traditional Authority to arrest the situation. The IGP further asked for forgiveness for the death of a civilian in Wednesday's violent clash, assuring the police will be professional in the discharge of their peacekeeping duties in the area.
I will appeal to you to talk to the youth that hope is not lost. We are ready to assist them. And so they should put down their arms and be ready to cooperate with us so that together we'll bring peace and everlasting peace to Bawku. It is not deliberate that we as peacekeepers who have got international recognition will go to a place to bring peace and deliberately we would like to see people dying. We will not allow that. So we'll always work extremely hard so that we'll remain neutral. So we want to assure the Bawku Namba that our men will continue to be neutral, and those elements that you feel that by the discharge of their duties, it is not making peace possible over here. I think I will have a private discussion with him later and let us know so that we can be able to bring in people who really see to the effective discharge of their duties so that peace can come to Bawku.
So that's the IGP, Christian Tete Yohuno, there. Let's get a bit more detail into this, because this is one that has generated a lot of concern. We'll connect with our East Regional Correspondent, Castro Senyala, in a bit, who's been in the area, crisscrossing this particular area to find out exactly what the state of affairs is as we speak today. And yesterday we got information as well that an immigration officer was also caught in the crossfire and had sustained some injuries. We'll get some updates on that shortly. But one person who understands the fabric of the conflict in the northern part of the country, having been involved in the Dagbon peace process, is Emmanuel Kutin. He's joining us on telephone right now. He is a security analyst and also a mediation expert, peace mediation expert. Is joining us right now. Mr. Kutin, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Alfred, good evening, and thank you for having me.
It's always good to have you. First off, I mean, having the knowledge of the fabric of the conflicts within the northern part of the country, and also analyzing the response mechanism that we have seen so far in the Bawku area, whenever there's a resumption of this conflict or the unrest in the area, a curfew is imposed and then security is reinforced. Is that the most potent response mechanism to this situation there?
Well, Alfred, that's much again. In fact, my conclusion to what you just said is just that we can't be putting the same strategies together and expecting different results. I think the way to go is to move to the roundtable discussion. I know law and order is very important, but any time that disturbances and we put law and order, we go to sleep. I'm happy the president himself mentioned today that he has appealed to Otunfo to continue with the mediation efforts. I think before elections last year, that move was made, and there was some success because both student factions respected the Otunfo and he listened to them. Or to move to the next stage, and because of elections, for fear of political advantage or disadvantages, they left it there. I was expecting that immediately after the new government came into place, they would have kick-started the negotiation again. And you realize what happened. New dimensions are coming to the fore. Who would have thought that the MP from the area's house would be touched? It simply tells something. It's no longer mistrust, more or less, between our security personnel and the indigents. It has moved to a sense of entitlement on the part of the Kusasis because of certain promises that was made to them, that when they vote in a particular way, they will resolve the conflict. And truly, if you look at the electoral results in that area, it went in a particular way. So it was not surprising the Kusasi UK given ultimatum to the president and even threatened the MP not to come to Bawku. So I'm happy that the IGP is there today. The president has also given the note for this process to kickstart. I'm just praying that it should be a very well coordinated, structured dialogue so that we can fill in the gaps and make gains from that process.
And we cannot water down the politics of this conflict, is it not? And you touched on it briefly, that whenever the NPP is in power, the Mamproshis appear, empowered and as you said, entitled. And then whenever the NDC is in power, you have the Kusasis also feeling empowered and entitled. Right. And this has been that the pendulum swings on both sides whenever each of these parties is in power. How should this be dealt with while the Otunfo say to the second mediation process also deals with the chieftaincy, and the land dispute part of it?
I think when he kickstarts the process, apart from the traditional authorities, we have to involve national figures who doesn't have direct involvement in the conflict, who can endanger that kind of trust from the feuding factions. And then, to me, I've always called for a commission. Given the historical antecedent, this conflict had lingered on since independence. It's about time we allow both the Kusasis and the Mamproshis to tell their story. And who will better be the best judges listening to both sides is the good people of this country. So they should form a commission, give the people the opportunity to vent their anger, and in so doing, there will be healing. Then we can plug in all the peace-building initiatives in between and bring a lasting peace to Bawku. And by so doing, once it's a chieftaincy problem, we can look at a framework where the National House of Chiefs can establish clear succession protocols and authority boundaries, like we did in Dagbon. Then we move to the Economic Development Initiative. We have to target the youth unemployment with specific programs that will reduce their vulnerability to mobilization. Then we look at the land use and resource sharing agreement. And most of the communities there are farmers. And no more often than not, there's always disagreement over land for farming. So we need to formalize arrangement for agricultural lands and market spaces. Then comes the educational integration, where we have to promote schools that serve multiple communities to build inter-ethnic understanding among the younger generation. And I just want to play with NPP and NDC to depoliticize the conflict. And that will bring de-escalation. Today, you realize that just a simple question somebody asked the IGP, and in response, he said he will prioritize employing Bawku youth into the police service. The minority held a press conference. And I think these press conferences are becoming one too many. And it's losing its desired effects. We should be minded. But, the IGP to me took policing to another level by bringing diplomacy to bear, given the circumstances, and very minded by the cultural and emotional sensitivities, given the heavy losses on both sides. The IGP said, I'm going to prioritize the youth of Bawku when it comes to recruitment. Did he say he's prioritizing for Kusasis or Mampreshis? Are the Kusasis and Mampreshis not all from Bawku? So we have to be guided. It's not everything we have to play politics. People have suffered for far too long. And on the internet, this is not the first time an initiative of this nature had happened. After you agree with me, we need to have these regional recruitment programs. Does it breed biases? No. To me, I think the people of Bawku have suffered, and they have not enjoyed the national cake like the rest of us are enjoying because of this conflict. So if the IGP is pleading with them to let peace prevail so that they can bring processes to their doorstep, then they can be considered for recruitment. Why should this thing warrant? Why should this harmless statement warrant a response from the minority by way of a pressure? And the minority, for Christ's sake, they are behaving as if they have been in opposition for 10 years. Just 3 months. You are just coming out from government, and you've been in government for 8 good years. What did you do about the conflict? And I was thinking that the vice president being a Mampreshi, and given that he was the presidential candidate of the NPP, that was the saturation point of the conflict for us to have the peace-building process and get all these things settled. Because I was thinking that the Mampreshis will stone down and then be peace-abiding and looking forward to settling for peace, so that if their own become the president, the country can be in a hole, then he can prosecute whatever development agenda and the legacy he so desires for this country. So I plead with both the NPP and NDC to be minded and consider the good people of Bawku and they have suffered for all this time, and depoliticize the tensions we have there, and allow the Otunfu and his team to do what they are supposed to do.
I see you kept mentioning and making reference to the minority NPP and what was done over the 8-year period that they were in power. In fact, the minority has been speaking about this as well and adding their voices to the call for some speedy resolution of the conflict in Bawku. I want to take a listen to the minority's call and also how this gets to you. Take a listen.
And so the visit by the IGP to the Bawku enclave is a step in the right direction. I mean, it's something that everybody should applaud. But what I am reading from social media, if that is true, then the IGP's visit is rather going to create more problems than good. to say that lay down your tools, and that if you lay down your tools, we will consider you for recruitment. It's something that one cannot understand. Why should people, yes, it is important. In order to de-escalate the situation in the Bawku enclave, it is important that we get all parties involved to lay down their tools. But for me, it will be absurd to recruit people into the security services based on the fact that they've laid down their tools. What it means, that if you do not even meet the criteria to be recruited into the security service, you will be recruited into the security service because you have laid down your tool. That obviously is not the way to go. It is important that we deal with the Bawku issue once and for all. If we all know the sensitivity surrounding the Bawku issue, so if we are not careful and then one ethnic group lay down tools and then they are recruited into the security services, we all know the chaos this is going to create for the nation. It is simply not the way to go. We from the minority will support every move to bring finality and then to find solution to the situation in Bawku, because Bawku is a border town. And if care is not taken and we get these armed groupings, using Bawku as a very weak point, the entire country will be on its knees. We don't want that.
So that's the minority's call there, essentially, raising concern about the IGP's visit there and a statement that is attributed to him. That's Kofi Amakwame, who is the deputy ranking on the Defense and Interior Committee. Mr. Guten.
Alfred, unfortunately, that is also misplaced. It's about English semantics here. And his statements were in the response to a question about opportunities in the service. And the complaint was that because they have been under curfew and in conflict for a long time, their youth don't get the opportunities of enlistment. So does it warrant? And if you even listen to him, he said the IGP said he could, if they lay down their tools, he could consider them. Conditional statement. The operational word here is could. How does that amount to wholesale recruitment from the area? I think the minority should tone down a bit, and we can love our parties more than our nations. You understand? The party doesn't exist in a vacuum. So we have to all do whatever we can do in our own capacity to make sure that the things we say will lead to processes that can bring peace in Bawku, but not divide us as a people. Unfortunately, I think that was not in good taste and totally misplaced, Africa.
I see. And maybe finally, before I let you go, especially because of the dynamics of this particular conflict, one moment it erupts, people are dead as a result, and in this time around we have some security personnel as well who have sustained injuries. As you indicated, the MPs, the Member of Parliament, Bawku Central MP's house was, they attempted torching the house. The police commander's house we understand, was also torched, was burnt. So what should be, in your view, as going forward, the major considerations in the mediation that Otufo the second is going to lead?
I think the immediate term, I think the security must enhance its forces with clear rules of engagement, avoiding perceived biases towards any of the ethnic groups. I think we also need to create humanitarian corridors, like you mentioned, those who are affected can get access to aid and medical services. And what is crucial is that the security must implement a temporary buffer zones between the conflicted communities, while dialogue progresses to a stage that they'll be convinced that the escalation of the tension has come to a level they can manage. Then in the medium term, like I mentioned, we can look at independent investigation commission with representatives from both the Kusas and the Mampichi communities, along with neutral mediators who can investigate recent violence, including the death of the gentleman that sparked this, and I think he's one Hussein Idrisu or so. And then the Otunfo will complement that with what Otunfo Eco will start. Then from there, government must devote resources and make sure that in the long term, all the structural reforms, like I mentioned earlier, adhere strictly to. And I'll plead with Ghanaians. You see, Ghana as a whole is surrounded by the Sahelian states, where terrorism and violent extremism is rift. If we lose Bawku could become the Waterloo to our fight against violent extremism or terrorism. So it's a collective duty of everybody to make sure that we contribute our quota to the Bawku crisis. It's not a national crisis issue. It's no more a localized conflict. If you go to the search engine and you type in Bawku conflict, you get interesting stories to read about that. That is how far this has gone international, and we must take every step to minimize the escalation and find lasting solutions to this conflict that has been bedeviled the country since pre-independence. I think it's solvable, and we can do it with all hands on deck when we do politicize the situation and we kind of march forward and hold the bull by the horn.
Mr. Kotin, appreciate you for this. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you so much, Alfred.
Emmanuel Kotin is a mediation expert and also a security analyst, is joining us on the phone. In fact, his extensive involvement in the resolution of the Dagbon crisis as well, and that knowledge of the architecture of the violence in the northern part of the country is what we sought to bring his view into this Bawku situation. Well, the Inspector General of Police, Christian Tete Yohuno, has been speaking a lot more, giving details about what the next phase and the next step will be going forward. Let's take a listen to him.
I will appeal to you to talk to the youth that hope is not lost. We are ready to assist them. And so they should put down their arms and be ready to cooperate with us so that together we'll bring peace and everlasting peace to Bawku. It is not deliberate that we as peacekeepers who have got international recognition will go to a place to bring peace, and deliberately we would like to see people dying. We will not allow that. So we'll always work extremely hard so that we'll remain neutral. So we want to assure the Bawku Namba that our men will continue to be neutral, and those elements
as the IGP there, giving some more details on the recruitment and what the way forward will be. But away from that, the Public Utilities and Regulatory Commission, that's PRC, is considering a review of the current tariffs for water and electricity. 3FM understands a crunch meeting is currently ongoing to discuss the specific tariffs for the first and second quarter reviews after an initial meeting ended in a deadlock. Our sources indicate the players are considering 27% tariff increase for electricity and 9.5% tariff increase for water. We're going to get some details on that, but stay with us. We're keeping close contact with our sources within this particular meeting of the PRC. Whatever the details, stay with us. We'll get to know some more and let you know as well as we go on. But a joint operation by the Western Naval Command, Takoradi Air Force, and the Western Central Command of the Ghana Police Service in Takwa has resulted in the seizure of 5 excavators and the destruction of 8 pumping machines used in illegal mining activities along the Bonsa River in the Takwa and Siam municipality of the Western region. Meanwhile, the Western Regional Minister Joseph Nelson has announced an interim plan to deploy security personnel to patrol the Bonsa River, which supplies water to Takwa Township and its surrounding communities. My colleague Rama Smith has more in the following report.
Despite government efforts to combat illegal mining, the activities continue to increase, particularly in water bodies and forest reserves. The Takwa and Soye municipality's sole water source, which supplies thousands of gallons to Takwa and surrounding communities, has been forced to shut down due to illegal mining operations. Several acres of farmland and cocoa farms along the Bonsa River at Bonsarire and Isuso have been destroyed in the search for gold. On Thursday, April 10, a joint security operation was conducted against illegal miners in Isuso, Bonsarire and Bonsa. The operation, involving personnel from the Western Naval Command, the Takrady Air Force, and the Western Central Command of the Ghana Police Service, resulted in the seizure of 5 excavators, confiscation of 1 tricycle and 1 motorcycle, and the destruction of 8 giant pumping machines. The National Security Liaison Officer for the Western Region, Brigadier General Musa Waja, retired, who led the operations, assured the residents of Takwa and its adjoining communities that the security services are ready to rescue the Bonsa River from illegal miners.
In keeping with His Excellency John Dramani Mahama initiative, Blue River Initiative, the Regional Minister, Honorable Joseph Nelson, instructed RESEC, the Regional Security Council, to ensure that all illegal miners are evicted along the Bonsa River. But I want to stress that it is not going to be a 9-day wonder. It will be followed up, and I want to assure the good people of Takwa that the Bonsa River will be rescued, and there is no way allowed these illegal miners to operate again.
In a related development, the government's intended plan to deport foreign nationals involved in illegal mining, known as Galamsey, has ignited fierce debate. While some back the move, environmentalists insist that all offenders, Ghanaians and foreigners alike, must face the full force of the law to curb the devastation of the country's land and water bodies. Stakeholders are now urging authorities to enforce existing laws more decisively and adopt stronger measures to combat the Galamsey menace. Shortly, I'll be joined by Daryl Bosu, is the Deputy National Director of Arocha Ghana, one of the foremost CSOs in the environment space as we have. It's going to be joining us in a bit. We'll have a conversation on this particular issue of illegal mining and how things are playing, and especially in the Western and the Western North region as well, because we just got some information that some 9 excavators have been impounded, and then also some 12 pumping machines as well destroyed in the Takwa Insoem area. And this was been the illegal mining taking place on the Bonsa River. This is the major source of water for the Ghana Water Company, for the supply of water to the Takwa Township. That's the information that we have right now. And keep an eye on how things are playing out on it. But let's take a listen to the Minister in charge of Communications, Samuel Nate George, who also shared his thoughts about illegal mining and what has to be done in his view going forward.
The minister responsible for lands is working on it. Look, Galamsey is a crime against humanity, and we need to end it. But like I keep saying, you can't fix 8 years of mess in 8 weeks, because the ministers are being at post barely about 8 weeks. But there's active work. I know that about 7 forest reserves have been reclaimed by a joint task force led from the Ministry of Defense and the Ministry of Lands and Natural Resources. And so, yes, we must fight Galamsey. And again, I repeat, irrespective of who it is that is doing the Galamsey, I don't care their political color. Clamp down on them, deal with them. Let us use maximum force to deal with it. Those who are doing illegal mining, again, let's be very clear. There's a difference between legal small-scale mining. Those who have their concessions and are mining, I don't have a problem with them. But those mining in forest reserves and in water bodies, it's illegal. Clamp down on them.
So why are we amending instead of repealing?
I believe that the right thing will be done, and we'll continue to call for the right thing to be done. But my point is simple. forest reserves, water bodies, there should be no mining in there. That's my personal position. We can't have a country where we are allowing people to mine in our water bodies or forest reserves. And so as far as I'm concerned, no legislation that creates room for people to mine in forest reserves or water bodies is acceptable to our people. I do not believe that Murtala's ally or whatever he's bringing to Parliament is to still allow people mine in water bodies. If that's the position, I will vote against it.
Well, that's someone at George there talking earlier. So live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. And keep your thoughts, views, comments, and opinions coming in. Read out to you and to the rest of the world. And on this matter of illegal mining, this is very, very key on the minds of many. And Daryl Bosu is joining us on the telephone right now. It's the Deputy National Director of Arocha, Ghana. Mr. Bosu, appreciate your time. Thank you for joining us.
Good afternoon, Alfred.
Perfect. Thank you.
Good evening.
Good evening. Thank you so much for joining us. And well, we've been speaking to someone at George who in the past had made comments about illegal mining and the fact that it could be fought and dealt with within a week. He still maintains that the full force should be deployed in the fight against illegal mining. And also the fundamental question about the LI 2462 being repealed instead of being now that it's going to be reviewed. Essentially, his point of view is that the law as it stands now cannot necessarily be seen to be, or what government has decided to do cannot be seen to be a backtrack on the earlier position, because they are taking the good parts of the law and also repealing those areas that you, the CSOs, were not too happy about. Does that tick the box for you?
Alfred, thank you very much for this. I mean, this is coming to us as news. I mean, we are yet to hear them really come out and say what exactly they plan to do. But as we have maintained, what is in the public domain is that they are doing an amendment. I don't know when they started repealing the other aspects of the LI. There's not been any communication. As far as we are concerned, in Parliament now is a process to amend. We're only waiting for the 21 days, mandatory days to elapse. So I don't know when they started this process. It would be very good we get information on this. And we have not been invited to really consider any proposals to repeal the entire law, as they're saying.
He didn't mention any proposal to repeal the entire law. He said repealing the aspects of the law that you, the CSOs, had concerns with. For instance, that aspect that gave the president the power to grant licenses for mining to take place in forest reserves. That, he says, is certainly going to go. And they're going to look at other aspects of the law that could be maintained.
Well, Alfred, I think the government decision to amend Regulation 32, which is about GSBAs. We have said time and again that it's only going to save 30 forest reserves out of the 288 forest reserves in this country. And that is not enough. And so the government continuously telling us that they are taking away what the CSOs are concerned about, for us, is a betrayal of the promise that they themselves supported us to demand from the previous administration. They were with us in unison with one call saying that the LI 2462 should be repealed in its entirety. The new turnaround with them deciding to amend was not part of the discussion and was not part of any agreement with any entity, and we consider it a betrayal of the trust we had in them. So I think that we want them to come again. They need to go back to the table, because like I said before, that amendment they are doing will only save 30 forest reserves. Now, what happens to the over 250 forest reserves also in this country, which are also going to be opened up, because the law, the rest of the provisions of the law, allows for a lot of intrusion and a lot of exposure to the other forest reserves. So we cannot let it stand. And that is why you see CSOs really persistently asking government to go back to the table and revoke this LI rather than continue with this amendment process they have started.
See, so there's under no circumstance will the CSOs accommodate that proposal of amending this LI 246. It has to go in its entirety for a new law to be promulgated.
Exactly. I said Ghana's sustainable agenda for us to achieve sustainability in terms of securing critical ecosystems, which are also sources of essential services like water services, food security, and all of that, relies significantly on our forest ecosystems. If you have a law that exposes majority of our forest reserves to risks of mining, then that law is not worth it, and that law must go. Currently, LI 2462 is really posing significant risks to not just our present generation, but also to generations that will come after us. So there's no way anybody, any well-meaning Ghanaian should accommodate this amendment by the government. And that is why we are relentlessly going to push until the government does the right thing. They promised to revoke it. Even just recently when His Excellency was, bringing in or swearing in the lands minister, he actually charged him to and indicated their commitment to revoke LI 2462. And so we are really surprised they turn around to a minute. And that is why we are not going to let it stand. We are going to keep pushing until His Excellency does the right thing. He has said that they are a listening government, and we are waiting for them to listen to this clarion call and act on behalf of the citizens, not on behalf of the party interest that is influencing this amendment as we know it.
Daryl, appreciate you for this. Thank you so much for joining us.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
Daryl Bosu is Deputy National Director of Arocha Ghana. Also speaking on this, Murtala Mohammed is Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, has also indicated that there is a resolve by government to ensure that the concerns of the civil society are met in the fight against illegal mining with respect to this LI 2462.
I've been away, but I've had conversations with the Minister for Justice and Attorney General. Look, pursuant to the discussions we had for the repeal or the amendment of this particular act. Now, what we have also started working on, and which I will be engaging him in the days to come, is to repeal the Minerals and Mining Act of 2003, at 703. And I think that entirely taking away the mining of forest areas completely. So I think that if you have this information, you would understand the decision that was taken. And again, it is also important. It is also important to state that the argument that came up was that are we just repealing a law? I said, look, you can amend a law to take care of the mischief or for the purpose for which people were calling for the repeal of that. Assuming we repeal this and come out with another one, and I am happy that in his even assessment, he admits that there are some aspects of the law which are good. So must you just throw away the baby and the bathing water? You look at an aspect of it which indeed generated a lot of concern and debate, particularly coming from civil society organizations, which was people going to mine in forest reserved areas. And we all do know that the reason why the government did that was not for the purposes of just protecting our forest area, but to give a particular company, the authorization or the right to mine in areas for whatever reason that is known to the government. So these are some of the issues we are looking at.
So that's the Minister in charge of Environment, Science and Technology, Mohammed Murtala, there, giving us some details of what the government intends to do going forward, addressing the concerns of the society organizations with respect to the conversation on the repeal or amendment of the LI 2462 as we have it on our books. Let's go back to Bawku right now. It's live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7, also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond. We're live on W 93.5 in Wa and beyond. Well, the minority, they've taken a serious position against comments made by the Inspector General of Police, Dr. Christian Tete Yohuno, during his visit to Bawku, describing them as out of place, essentially, and urging him to reconsider. Speaking at a press briefing today, we've got details of the minority's position, but let's just recall exactly what the IGP said with respect to this appeal to the young people in Bawku to lay down their tools and be considered for recruitment into the Ghana Police Service?
I've come here as your son, looking for peace in Bawku. We thank you for doing a lot to make sure that we have peace that enable us to enter Bawku today. Your Royal Highness, what we say is that where we have give us in the course of the discharge of our duties where we have gone wrong.
Well, as the IGP there, let's hear from Reverend Tim Fojo, who is the ranking on the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament, speaking for the minority, specifically about their issues and concerns with the IGP's comments.
Of mediation will continue. That will also call for the recomposition of the Bawku Inter-Ethnic Peace Committee, and we're also appealing to traditional leaders and all relevant stakeholders, the Peace Council, the National House of Chiefs, the Regional House of Chiefs, to also continue to do their part in building peace. But we as a minority at the outset or foremost convey our sympathies to the bereaved families and the injured and to all persons and organizations who have lost property as a result of this conflict and as a result of the immediate escalation. But one of the other strategies that we recommend also to government is for government to lead an engagement with the youth and key stakeholders to listen to their concerns, because those concerns, when they are listened to and immediately addressed, it will address the immediate causes of this escalation. And when peace calms down and we have relative calm, it will be an effective recipe for the mediation led by Otunfo to continue, and for other stakeholders who are also supporting to continue for peace to be built. So that dovetails into the Abeji from Joy FM's concern.
Well, so that's the Reverend Tim Fojo, they could safely call him the fire member of Parliament for the Asin South constituencies, a ranking on the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament. Let's go on to the telephone now. George Amo is Executive Secretary of the National Peace Council. He's joining us right now. Ms. Amo, good evening. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. It's evening. Sorry. Good evening, my brother. How are you?
I'm well, thank you. It's good to have you join us.
Great, Mr. Ocansey.
Perfect. Now, we understand from the President's pronouncement earlier today that Otunfo said to the second mediation efforts in the Bawku is going to resume next week, all things being equal. Looking at the changing nature or the evolving nature of this conflict, what should be the approach that this mediation should take after it resumes next week?
Yes, thank you once again, and good evening to all the cherished listeners of 3FM. You see, the Bawku issue, the fundamental problem we have is that trust has been broken. It is difficult for the people to trust the security. The security now have caused even not to trust people who are working in the area, freely. This compounds the already existing, tension between the major protagonists, the Mampusis and the Kusasis. So we have to fix the issue of trust. And how do you do that? If there is perception of mistrust, what you can do to reduce the tension and de-escalate, one is to increase the bridges for dialogue across all sections of people, in the community, the youth, the traditional rulers in the area, the media, your good self, very critical, the women's associations there, the civil society groups there. Every part has a role to play in ensuring that trust is retained. But, my brother, apart from this, the critical issue is that when somebody feels that he has what it takes to kill somebody or to destroy somebody, the person is emboldened to do that. And this brings us to the issue of arms. Small arms, illicit arms, that are in the hands of people without any restraint. If you see the way the youth in the area were able to muster the courage, to sort of go after the security, I mean, it is somehow difficult to understand. So it brings us to this issue of arms. If we're able to retrieve arms from the people, it will be very difficult for them to do some of the things we see. So I think all of us must come to that point where probably a moratorium should be issued. I know my brother Adam Bona and the team are doing their best. I think we should watch these two things I've said. If we're able to get arms retrieved as much as we can, if we're able to restore broken trust, and I can tell you, my brother Ocansey, there are so many people in the area who are also going through psychological problems because of the things they've watched, the things they've seen, the horrors they've encountered. So we have to also sort of bring some psychosocial interventions to help people come to terms with what is happening. But basically, I think the Inter-Ethnic Peace Committee, which the Peace Council and others facilitated, to be the driving engine, for early warning signs and responses to be given. I think that committee would have to be revisited. And probably the issue of trust also came up there because they were working very well until initially, I think the Mampusis left, they came back, the Kusais also left at a point. So it is also very important we get the Inter-Ethnic Peace Committee working because that is a sort of an insider mediation committee which is composed of parties from both the Mampusis and the Kusaisis. You see? So that will help. And I would also want to suggest strongly that the Otumfo committee, very brilliant, but probably they can also broaden their scope a bit. If the Peace Council, for example, can our regional office there is very, very, very active. So probably with civil society groups there, such as Builder, there's a civil society there called Builder, which is doing very well. There's Cogenta there, which is helping. If all these forces can come together, I think we can find a solution. The kinetic method can only stop the fighting, but to build relationship is surely the way to go. And if you can do that, then dialogue at all levels to remove the issue of suspicion, the issue of mistrust, because that is fundamental for restoring peace in Bawku.
So hold on a bit for me. We're going to go straight to Bawku now. My colleague and our correspondent there, Castro Senela, is joining us. Castro, what's the latest on the ground as we speak? Hello, Castro? Castro, can you hear me?
Right. Alfred, I can hear you. The IGP has concluded his visit to the Bawku area, where he's been engaging a number of stakeholders, including the Bawku Naba Abu Grago Azwaka II, where he personally made an appeal to him to see how he could use his influence to help to bring the violent unrest to a stop. He says that the police on their side will do all they can to make sure that their men are put on a strict procedure to follow in terms of discharging their peacekeeping duties. He also says they will be more professional, and he says that the next time issues of these things would happen, he wouldn't be happy at all. He would work around the clock to ensure that such incidents where police clash with civilian population in Bawku does not repeat itself. Alfred, it's also interesting to note that the IGP also, asked for forgiveness of the Bawku people. Firstly, the Bawku Naba, and secondly, of the people, saying that if they got angry by what happened, then they should forgive him. He that's called the essence of a collaboration between the traditional area, the youth, and the police to ensure amicable solution is found, and especially the recurrent unrests that have led to the death of civilians, unarmed civilians, is put to a stop. Alfred, let listeners understand a quick thing. When we got there, the entire Naba Chief Palace was filled to the brim with youth who were agitating. We saw them carrying placards. They were so angry at the recent happenings where a key figure within the youth lost his life, and for the putting words of the leaders, especially the youth leaders, this has been different, Alfred. The street agencies, knowing how bad the situation is, also prepared adequately. We had the police with their armed vehicles and all the units, all their powerful units in Bawku. We had the military on the side. We had the immigration also supporting with armed officers. But still, the youth were so agitated that it nearly became an issue. But the IGP was able to use his some soft words to calm them down and assure that, look, some of these mistakes would not repeat again, and he would, launch an investigation into what happened, and whoever is behind will be brought to book. Because that was one of the requests of the Zuguran, that's the Bawku Naba, and the youth leaders who called for an investigation to be, instituted into the recent killing, because it appears the person who died recently is a key figure within the youth, and for that matter, the youth are really pained about his death and were really wild with the whole area atmosphere very tense. Alfred, back to you.
Appreciate you for this comprehensive detail there. That's Castro Senela, is our Upper East Regional Correspondent. And back to you, Mr. Amo, you're talking about dialogue at all levels to deal with this. But then again, how do we deal with the mistrust when this matter is also heavily politicized? Whenever the MDC is in power, you have the Kosasis feeling empowered. Whenever the MPP is in power, you also see the Mamprosis also feeling empowered as well. How do we deal with the mistrust in the midst of the politics?
Yes, thank you. I think this can be done if we structure the method for dialogue professionally and with the best interest of the people in the area at heart. How can we proceed? One, we did similar one for Bimbila when Bimbila was in crisis some years back. So you first would have to do separate dialogues. We've done it before. You bring probably the key actors from one of the sides. You can bring them here in Accra, get them a very good place, speak to them. If they are there for some 3-4 days, we discuss what are the issues. We do the same thing with the other side, probably at a different place, you take probably the youth only to another side. I mean, these are the levels I was trying to say. You try even to take the women associations there. You take the political actors to some place, and it will come to a point, my brother Alfred, you would get to know the real issues behind what we see. Because always there are positions that people will show up, but beneath the position will be the interest and the need. So what is the real need? We have to uncover, and we can only do that through engagement, through dialogues. If we're able to get to that point, I am confident we can do that. But it needs the strongest will from those in authority. The financial support for peace workers. You see, I have consistently said that if we are to be given 55% of what goes into the hard security, peace will be restored to Bawku and all the other places. Because there are key actors from the area who are internationally known for their peace building skills. How can we deploy all these skills? If we have to bring somebody from out of the country, probably to restore trust, why not? We can. If we have to carry, there was a time we wanted to carry, let me probably not use the word carry, but to convey the chief imam to the place, probably to pray. So we have come to a point, all of us must use every available mechanism to ensure we bring Bawku back to normalcy, because it is not healthy for us. I am very happy the IGP and in fact my own minister Muntaka, the actions they've taken so far, I think very excellent. I think that we should not rest after this initial effort. We have to quick start the process for dialogue. I mean, we can do that. And you see, Alfred, that corridor, I think we should not lose the fact that it links two of our bordering countries, Burkina Faso and Togo. And all traders from these countries will be interested in what takes place in Bawku. So I would also want to encourage the security to carefully watch those who ply the routes. It may all happen that there are people with interest who probably have more to do than what our eyes can see. So we have to do a lot of intelligence gathering in the area,
right,
to help us overcome this intractable conflict. I think we have to. I want to appeal to everybody, the youth in Bawku, in the whole Kusag area. Please, the future is for you. Anybody who loses life, we cannot restore that.
Right.
I mean, the young man who died,
yes,
so painful. You can't bring him back.
Indeed.
I know somebody, a nurse, who has been traumatized because somebody was shot in her presence. A young nurse was posted to the place.
Right.
Please, we want to appeal. Let's give peace a chance. And those who have lost loved ones, on behalf of the Peace Council, I convey our sincerest regrets.
Right.
And wish you speedy recovery from this unfortunate event. Let us live together.
Indeed.
There's more to gain when we live together than to insist on our rights at this time.
I do appreciate your time. Thank you so much, Zamo.
Thank you so much, Alfred. I'm grateful.
Thank you. George Amo is the Executive Secretary of the National Peace Council. They're so live here on Hot Edition on 3FM 92.7. Also on Kesmi 107.1 in Tamale and beyond, on W93.5 in Y and beyond. We're back shortly. Juliana Menuafo is standing by with the latest in the world of business.
It's the battle of the teams in a 3FM 60-day Fit Start Challenge. Which team will come up tops? Will it be Team Comfort or Team Helen? Will age and tact triumph? Or will you health and energy win. 3FM Fit Start, sponsored by Daffy's Health and Beauty, Bill's Microfinance and UGEL Premier, and supported by Blue Skies and the Ghana Medical Association. 3FM Fit Start, your health, your journey, your victory.
FM 92.7 Urban Lifestyle Radio Station.
Hello, good evening. Welcome to the business segment on Hot Edition. Coming up tonight, Ghana Chamber of Mines rejects government's justifications for increased growth and sustainability levy as it insists sector is already heavily taxed. I am Minu Afo. Stay with us for the details of this and more. Well, now, the Ghana Chamber of Mines has strongly pushed back against government's justification for increasing the growth and sustainability levy, saying the move misrepresents the true economic contribution of the mining industry. This comes after the 2025 budget raised the levy from 1% to 3%, citing rising gold prices and under-captured resource rents. The following 3 Business News Desk report has details.
In a detailed response, the Chamber of Mines argues that government's narrative about the mining sector underpaying taxes is misleading. While government says the country hasn't fully captured economic rents from natural resources, the chamber says available data tells a different story. Citing the World Bank, it revealed that mineral rents averaged below 3% of GDP over a 30-year period and cannot exceed total mineral revenue, which contributed about 8% of Ghana's GDP in 2024. The chamber also clarified that mineral rents are shared among government, communities, and companies, not kept entirely by investors. It referenced studies by the Natural Resource Governance Institute indicating that government captures around 50 to 60% of those rents. Despite recent gains in global gold prices, the chamber warns that not all mining firms are reaping windfalls. It says the increase in the growth and sustainability levy unfairly affects producers of other minerals like manganese and bauxite, which have not seen similar price surges. Between 2020 and 2023, member companies spent close to $2.9 billion annually on local goods and services and contributed over $1 billion in taxes and other investments yearly. The chamber is calling for dialogue with government to ease the pressure on struggling companies and is also pushing for a legal framework similar to the Petroleum Revenue Management Act to ensure transparency in how mineral revenues are used.
And now for Ghana, a substantial drop in crude oil prices could translate into a considerable shortfall in projected revenue for the fiscal year. Professor of Finance at Gimpa Business School, Ebenezer Bugri Anafo, has reiterated calls for government to expand the tax net to improve domestic revenue collection. This appeal comes as global crude oil prices continues to plummet due to escalating U.S.-China trade tensions and other geopolitical factors, potentially leading to a shortfall in oil revenue for Ghana's 2025 budget.
This appeal comes as global crude oil prices continue to decrease due to escalating U.S.-China trade tensions and other geopolitical factors, potentially leading to a shortfall in oil revenue for Ghana's 2025 budget. The global crude oil market is experiencing significant volatility, with prices dropping sharply, with WTI crude trading at $56.94 per barrel, while Brent crude has fallen to $64.24 per barrel, down by about 18.60% since January this year. Financial economist Professor Ebenezer Bugri Anafo emphasized that a robust and diversified revenue base is essential for Ghana to achieve its development goals and maintain fiscal stability in the face of global economic uncertainties.
We are likely not to raise enough in terms of our crude oil export to support the budget. This will also impact on the value of the cedi because a reduction in the crude oil price would also would mean that we will not be able to generate enough foreign exchange to be able to support the Ghana cedi. Government of Ghana can also do to be able to support the budget is to enhance revenue generation from other sources instead of we being dependent on crude oil export by widening the tax base to capture sectors to include people that are not paying taxes.
Professor Anafo's call emphasized the need for proactive measures to mitigate the potential fiscal impact of lower oil earnings.
Away from that, the Ghana Investment Promotion Center, GIPC, projects more foreign direct investment inflows with the introduction of its 24-hour premium service. The service is designed to make Ghana a more attractive destination for trade and investments by offering continuous round-the-clock support to investors.
The 24-hour service alongside the current review of the GIPC Act would align the center with current market trends, boost foreign investment and investor confidence in the country. It will also align with the African Continental Free Trade Area protocols to ease business operations and investment flows across borders.
As you know, Ghana, like every other country, is competing for investment around the world, and so the more you improve your processes to receive investors, the better it is for all of us. And it is also within the broader context of the country's drive towards transitioning us into a 24-hour economy. So if we should be able to process these things within a 24-hour period, and that's what we've done so far.
Head of Innovative Finance, Partnership and Markets at the 24-Hour Economy and Accelerated Export Development Secretariat, Dr. Ishmoni Amano-Dodu said the 24-hour is more than just a political statement, but a call for comprehensive transformation. The testimonials shared by industries and entities paint a relatively competitive advantage for Ghana's investment landscape.
We were very impressed with how quickly the application went through. Immediately we made the payments. Within a couple of hours we had received the registration certificate, and this is the first time that has happened.
When the expedite system came, the 24-hour, I was very delighted. When I submitted the response or the approval for them, they are happy. So I think we should move forward with it.
Well, that's it for Business on Hot Edition tonight. My name is Minua Fo. Stay with us. Sports News is up next with Billy Shin.
Hello, good evening, and welcome to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Bill Lishem. We start off from the Ghana Premier League, where Accra Hearts of Oak have extended the contract of goalkeeper Benjamin Asare until 2027. Asare's contract was expected to run out at the end of this season. My colleague Mutala Yakubu provides the details in the following report.
Ghana Premier League side Accra Hearts of Oak have extended the contract of goalkeeper Benjamin Asare until 2027, and that could be Hearts of Oak's own way of tying the goalkeeper down to ensure that when a good offer comes in for him, he would be allowed to go, and Hearts of Oak would also get some substantial amount of money. Remember that Benjamin Asare recently made a name for himself when he was imposed for Ghana in the 2 World Cup qualifiers that we played against Chad and Madagascar, where he received praises not from just his teammates but the entire populace in the country. So Hearts of Oak have now tied him down to 2027, and there were rumors that clubs from North Africa like Raja Casablanca were all in for his signature. Then Hearts of Oak can now put a smile or wear a smile and be comfortable knowing that if Benjamin Asare should move, they are going to get a good offer.
Elsewhere in the Division 1 League, Atram Divise has defeated league leaders Hoho United by 1-0 at the Tuba AstroTurf in the round 23 match of the ongoing Division 1 League. Despite this setback, Hoho United still hold firm at the top of the league with commanding 6 points lead over second place Port City, who has a game in hand as well. Now, Hoho United's coach spoke after that game.
There's nothing we can do when
the yellow cards are coming and all that. You understand, certain things are premeditated and it limits you. You are going for tackle, you are scared. The opponent have the ball, you have to come behind the ball because you have to avoid contact at all costs. This defeat is nothing, it's one of those things. But psychologically, I think it will worry my players. I have to do one-on-one sessions with them, try and psych them because this can go a long way to affect us in our next game. So the only thing I have to do is a one-on-one session. I try and talk to them as part of the game. Then we move on from there.
That was the coach of Hoho United. Meanwhile, Minister for Sports and Recreation, Honorable Kofi Adams, believes the Division 1 league looks very healthy and competitive as compared to some top-flight matches. The Buem MP made this assertion during his visit to the Tuba AstroTurf to witness that game between Atram Divize and Hoho United.
It's been a good game. I was watching the game with the assistant coach of the senior national team, John Pinter, and he's been a player and a coach before. So he was kind of like running comments as the game went on the first half. And we are impressed with the quality of play. Indeed, it looks like the Division 1 competition looks very healthy and quite interesting than sometimes when you watch the Premier.
That was the Minister for Sports and Recreation, Honorable Kofi Adams. Now, away from the local setting, let's head to Europe, where Egyptian international Mohamed Salah has committed to Liverpool until 2027, signing a new contract with the Reds on Friday. A 32-year-old's future at Anfield had been a subject of intense speculation, but he has now extended his stay with the club for an additional 2 years. Liverpool manager Arne Slot has expressed his delight at Salah's contract extension.
First of all, he's always been judged as a player. He's always judged as a player, which is, of course, what you guys should do. But I also see him as a human being, and he's a humble person, always wants to work hard, always puts a lot of effort in to become the player he has become. And he wants to stay at that level, so he just keeps on bringing that effort every single day. And what makes him special on the pitch is, in my opinion, that he can score goals. Now, there are more players who can score goals, but Mo can also score a goal if he's not in the best half hour or the best 15 minutes. And that's why he's mentally so strong as well. And you need to be that if you want to be 7 or 8 years at the highest level every 3 or 4 days. Apart from quality, from physique, you need to be mentally really strong as well. And I think that's, apart from all the other things, how mentally strong he is probably what stands out.
That was the head coach of Liverpool, Arne Slot. Now, Aston Villa manager Unai Emery has emphasized the team's focus on the Premier League top 5 finishing, stating that while they are concentrated on the Champions League and FA Cup, the Premier League top 5 places must be their priority as the season nears its conclusion.
For the opportunity, like we are now, to try to face Premier League as well, with our ambition at the beginning of the season to repeat again to play in the top 5 position, because through the teams we are involving in Europe, more or less we are so close to get the 5th position for Champions League, and it means we're adding 1 position more as well for Europa League or Conference. It depends as well, FA Cup, how we are, the team we are there, how we are finishing. And of course, we are enjoying and we are being very focused in Champions League. We are very focused in FA Cup, but we have to be prioritizing Premier League.
That was Unai Emery, the head coach of Aston Villa. Now, still on the Premier League, Arsenal manager Mikel Arteta says his team will set aside their impressive win over Real Madrid in the Champions League semi-finals and focus on their upcoming Premier League match against Brentford, aiming to stay competitive in the title race despite 11 points behind league leaders Liverpool.
I understand, probably in terms of the impact he had worldwide and the context and the manner that we did it, probably the one that the people would talk the most, but at the end is another game for us, and it's still a lot to do, and but I think it's great for us as a team as well to build this moment, those connections and that history together. Yeah, so with Dek and Bukayo, they are both fit, so it was just a matter of 2 kicks, and they recovered well, so they are available for tomorrow, and Ricky's progressing really well. I think to give you a timeline difficult because he needs to step up, especially having more people around and how Dani reacts after that, but he's in a good place, I think.
Former Black Stars midfielder Kevin Prince Boateng has embarked on a new journey, this time off the pitch with the launch of his football agency, Rookie and Champ. The Berlin-born playmaker, who had an eventful club career across Europe playing for top clubs like AC Milan, Borussia Dortmund, Tottenham Hotspur, Hertha Berlin and La Liga giants FC Barcelona, aims to nurture young talents, particularly from his native Berlin, and guide them towards global success.
18, I became professional. I was that guy, and I was loving it as well. And then I got transferred to Tottenham. 10 days later, the coach told me he didn't want me. Money or the fame or the big club is not always the right step to make. That's why I said I want to bring into my experience of always wanting to be there for my boy. If you get a Rookie and Champ player with 18, he's ready for everything. He's ready in front of 50,000 people to shoot a penalty. If I would have had that, I would play 10 years in a row in Real Madrid.
That was Kevin Prince Boateng there. Before we go, let's do some tennis, where British #1 Katie Boulter produced a fine comeback to lead the side to victory over Germany in their Billie Jean King Cup qualifying tie. Boulter grew in confidence on the clay court to beat the crafty Tatiana Maria 1-6, 6-3, 6-1 to give Great Britain an unassailable 2-0. Bringing an end to the sports segment here on the 3FM Hot Edition. My name is Bill Lishen, and we'll see you same time on Monday. But until then, have a great weekend.
Accra, Ghana, Africa, and worldwide. Join us on Inspirational Gospel Mix this and every Sunday, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m.